Yeah,
and,
I mean,
and
what
every
this,
other
what
issue.
this is further shown is how censorious the GOP is. I mean, they've always been that way. I mean, my God, again, I know you remember during the Bush administration, Bill Maher's show got canceled because he criticized the military. The Dixie Chicks got canceled because they criticized the Bush era military. The GOP is the party of censorship, and Trump has taken it on to a whole new level. But getting back to your point, which was, about the landscape. Yeah, I have less faith in the media now with Trump 2.0 than I did when they were managing Trump or covering Trump during the campaign, during the Biden administration, or even Trump term 1. They have signaled already that they are eager to capitulate to Trump out of fear or viewership or both. But yeah, I don't expect CNN's going to be nearly as hard on him as they...
If they still exist. Uh-oh. I think we have some frozen oh, you're back. I was going to say, I was about to make a Tucker Carlson frozen food empire joke. His family.
I'm kidding. Yeah. No, I'm messing with you.
I know, I was having fun. I know. So, they're the Swanson food, fortune. Oh, the puppy's excited about it.
Yes.
But, I mean, it's again, making things that are comparable that are simply not comparable, and they've been lying. And again, that's why I've seen this media model growing worse and failing even long before Trump. And a lot of people that are never Trumpers now that say this now, they didn't before. Again, I'm friendly with some of them. I'm not ripping on them. I'm a big doggy and kitty kind of guy.
Sorry, your chat was asking. So while you're talking.
Put the puppy up there. That's awesome. Go for it, man. Doggies and kitties are the best. I'm at my office. If I were at home, I'd have kitties up here everywhere. But I mean, the problem, people are like, well, what happens? I mean, if the Washington Post dies, I'm like, let it die. I mean, I honestly believe the corporate media model was failing us before. It was failing us when it allowed Newt Gingrich, the first 1.0 clown, to become Speaker
Mitch
of the House.
McConnell 1.1.
Right. Sarah Palin, and to treat her like she was a normal candidate for vice president who had any ability to be there. They've been covering up for Republican lies and deficiencies and stupidity for years. And they've proven themselves incapable of doing what they claimed that they would do, which was objective journalism, just tell you the truth no matter what. They turned that into 50-50 down the middle. And that informs nobody. And their role in the First Amendment in our Constitution is to inform people so people know who to vote for and what's in their best interest, and that kind of thing. And so they are abrogating their role in the Constitution. I've heard that 1 in 10 Washington Post subscribers have gotten rid of it since that the Bezos pulling back on the endorsement. Good. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, New York Times, Washington Post, LA Times, CNN, let them all die and let us fill in that space. If people would step up on the left with money, or others of us who have been able to create content that people want to see, let us fill in that space and have people come to us, because the truth of the matter is, and there are exceptions to that. The Philadelphia Inquirer, owned by a private foundation, is liberal,
very good,
honest. The only newspaper, as I pointed out again and again, after that first debate between Biden and Trump, the only newspaper in the country that called on Trump to get out because of all of his lies.
Yes.
Okay. Great. That's one that is not corporate control, whatever. The Cleveland Plain Dealer, where Chris Quinn, their editor, said only one of these two candidates tried to overthrow the government and wouldn't accept the results of the election. This was when Biden was still running. Are we going to criticize Mr. Biden? Yes, we will not treat these two like they are equals. We will make very clear one of them does not believe in our form of government, and they did that too. Those guys, I'm all for supporting. I subscribed right away. ProPublica, Cleveland Plain Dealer,
the
Philly Inquirer.
Yeah.
Yes, the ones that work, the ones that are doing the good work out there, subscribe to. Unsubscribe from the others. If they die, we will be better for it. That is my take.
One of the things that's so sad about Trump winning is some people say, well, maybe he won't follow through with the shit he's promised, and I don't predict anything, and quite frankly, I think people should be very hesitant to offer predictions, particularly after this election. I think we should look at the field of opportunities and field of options before us and timelines and say these are all possibilities. I have no claim to what Trump will or won't do, but I submit to you this: even if Trump, best case scenario, basically just fucks off and golfs for 4 years, all he really cares about is killing the investigations into him, and he just wants to chill for 4 years, I would argue that that's still pretty disastrous for the country, because what this has done is it has established a precedent to future right-wing demagogues and authoritarians who are much more clever than Trump, younger than Trump, more ambitious than Trump. And what it says is, okay, you can lie 30,000 times. You can inherit a good economy from your Democratic predecessor, drive it into the ground in 4 years, not just due to pandemic mismanagement.
And ignore a pandemic when you know, we have private tape of him realizing what was going on.
Yes. And Dr. Deborah Birx, one of his chief medical advisors, she went on the record in a CNN interview and said, I think the first 100,000 deaths were probably inevitable, but everything after that could have been substantially mitigated had the Trump administration taken things more seriously. He mismanaged the pandemic. He started a trade war with China. He didn't submit any of his promises. He separated, children from their parents. He tried to institute a Muslim ban, all this crazy unhinged shit. And then, of course, trying to steal a free and fair election, and then, resisting and breaking the peaceful transfer of power. You can do all of that. And not only will you not be legally accountable, you will not suffer meaningful political consequences, and you can, in fact, be rewarded. And so I submit to you.
And actually, the incentive then now is to run, because the incentive
Why not?
Well, if I don't want to go to prison and I've been convicted, I'm either running out of the country or I'm running for president, because that's so, and again, not based in law, based on a stupid opinion written by staffers under the attorney generals of Nixon and Clinton. It's not in the Constitution.
Yeah, but
plenty of other democracies do that, by the way, like have prosecuted presidents while they're in power, and somehow we're respecting this stupid precedent.
That's the thing and again, I take your point on that, but it's one of those things like, I agree. So he's referring to the Office of Legal Counsel opinions from the Nixon era, in which the Justice Department says that they don't prosecute a sitting president. But here's the thing, Cliff, even that I'm willing to accept, because I can at least buy the argument, but that's temporary. What the Supreme Court did in Trump v. United States.
No, you're right.
Is
scary. Really.
Is terrifying. And I almost wonder if the Justice Department would have had a better time asking the right-wing supermajority on the court when they were making the case. You know what, Your Honors? I understand the tenor of these questions. I understand some of the things, the point of questions you're asking me, where you're kind of signaling where you're falling on this. So I'm going to ask you instead, Your Honors, I'm not going to make the case about why presidential immunity is terrifying and it's un-American and it's all these things. I want you all to close your eyes and pretend it's Barack Obama standing right here asking for the unhinged shit that Mr. Trump's attorneys is asking for, saying things like, if the president, literally he was asked, they were asked by Justice Kagan or Sotomayor, okay, well, if the president orders a coup, should that be prosecutable?
Right.
And Trump's attorneys were like, well, maybe, but not necessarily. So Justice Alito, Justice Roberts, Justice Kavanaugh, just close your eyes and pretend it's not Trump. Pretend it is a black Democratic president.
Did you ever see, I have to ask you when you're saying all this, and I don't know if you're thinking of it because of it, but did you ever see the movie, and it was based on the book by Grisham, which I read, and it was a great book, or whatever, A Time to Kill?
Is that with Christopher Walken in it?
No, that one is with Matthew McConaughey, Sandra Bullock. Essentially a bunch of white hillbillies attack and rape Samuel L. Jackson's daughter. And they're being tried in court. And Matthew McConaughey, I'm sorry, if folks haven't seen it, I'm ruining it, but
spoiler alert,
you'll still
30-year-old
spoiler
movie.
alert, you're still going to enjoy the movie. It's a great movie. His closing argument, it sounds a lot like what you were just saying, which is he describes what was done to this girl, what she looked like, when they were done with her, how, all this horrible stuff. And he's like, now imagine she's white, because it was a little black girl who was the daughter of, and then it was like, So,
yeah, but the sad, and this is the thing, man, this is where I'm telling you, folks, I'm trying not to be doomer but we have to have a total recognition of what the lay of the land is before we can attempt to meaningfully address it. So to that point, which is we're trying to appeal to their sense of consistency. We're trying to appeal to humanity's inherent disgust of hypocrisy. Here's the thing, though. MAGA's superpower, they have so many advantages, but their superpower is their shamelessness. So if you look at polls post-Trump v. U.S., what it showed is that 70% of Americans disagreed with the Trump v. United States decision, in that they didn't think presidents deserve immunity. But when pollsters changed the question from U.S. president to Trump, Republican support for presidential immunity shot through the roof. They don't fucking care. In fact, many of them, in my opinion, I was just talking about this on a political panel yesterday, it's my humble opinion, that there are millions of Republican voters, unfortunately, I can say this because I'm not a candidate, that actually love the hypocrisy. They love the fact that Trump says one thing and does another. They love the fact that when Trump was president, he wanted to jail Barack Obama, a former president. He was calling for it on Fox News. You know, Bill Barr, he's missing in action. He should go after Obama. He should go after Joe Biden. Well, Barack Obama is an ex-president. Yeah, by the way, Cliff, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're muted, Cliff. Barack Obama was an ex-president, and Trump was publicly calling for him to be prosecuted. None of these motherfuckers stood up, Cliff, and said, no, Mr. President, that's wrong. We don't go after former presidents in this country. They said, hell yeah, go after Obama, go after Clinton.
Yep.
But then when he is the former president, then it's like, oh, well, we kind of need that presidential immunity thing. And by the way, presidential immunity is like a really good idea for like everybody. It's like, you're so full of shit.
No,
4 years ago, you had the exact opposite. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah.
Just so people know, because there's only 2 of the nice USB slots here, and one of them was for my camera, and one of them was for my microphone. My computer was dying, and I had to plug it in. So we got to go through these now. So I'm sorry, the sound will be a little more echoey, but you know, we got through most.
Yeah, but I just out of curiosity, what do you think about that?
I mean, I obviously fully agree with you. I mean, you know, again, the problem is I think, and let's start with, I think the fascist mindset is that, you know, and that's what this is, right? Authoritarianism, call it what you will, is not that, you know, oh my God, I'm worried about hypocrisy, or not, I hope we can get away with hypocrisy. It enjoys it, it revels in it. Because the whole point of fascism is there's an in-group and an out-group. We're better than you. So we can cheat on our wives, Rudy Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, and Donald Trump, who've had 9 wives between them. We can do that and lecture you on family values because we're the white, you know, Christian guys, straight guys, and we're Republicans. We get to do that. You don't. I mean, again, we've said that before. Imagine Barack Obama with 5 kids from 3 different wives, and tell me he gets elected. You know, and so they love the hypocrisy of it. I think it is a key feature of fascism. It's a way of wearing people down and showing people that you're lesser than they are. Is, you know, it's like if you saw, if you watched The Handmaid's Tale or read the book, you know.
You mean Mike Pence's wet dream? Is that what you're talking about? The Handmaid's
Yes.
Tale?
Yeah, exactly that, right? All these Christian husbands who it should be perfect, whatever. Of course, they're all molesting and on the side and raping their handmaids because they don't. I'm sorry, folks. I mean, I should have said trigger alert or something, but they, you know, because it's not just about having babies. It's not just about what they pretend it's about. It's about power. And they have some club in different clubs in different towns called Jezebels, where they can go and hook up with women they've forced into prostitution. Again, that is the right wing. And if given a complete power, that is the way they behave. That, you know, they will grab all of the resources like Vladimir Putin did, become multi-billionaires. Women are disposable objects for them. You know, their race will be the dominant race. They'll always find ways to demagogue and pick on minorities, Jews, you know, gays, whatever. You know, if it's a Muslim country, Christians. If it's a Christian country, Muslims. You know, whatever it is, because that is how fascists essentially operate. So I do think you're right, and I think that makes these guys who feel dispossessed and frankly have felt like losers, have felt like I have no job, you know, I'm depressed, I'm, you know, this, I'm that, but I'm still better than you. It's the old LBJ line. As long as you could make the lowest white man feel like he was above the highest black man, you could win his vote. That's what LBJ used to say was how Republicans would win elections, and frankly, plenty of Southern Democrats back then too, if we're being honest. And so that's what this is about. I mean, and that's what it's about under every system. If you're in Idi Amin's Uganda when he ran there, if you were part of his group, the other groups were it doesn't matter who you were. So it's not just white, whatever. In this country it is white Christian, but it's any country where there's a form of authoritarianism.
Yeah. The other thing, well, I've heard from Anna Kasparian that Trump couldn't be a fascist, Cliff, because he was unsuccessful. So.
Oh, well, I've also heard from Cenk Uygur, the first person where I ever had a regular gig. 2003 at 6 or 7, I did this thing called Republican Sexcapades, right about what we're talking about now, where I pointed out all of the hypocrisy. I didn't even fully get it back then. I just got that there were hypocrites. So when a senator from Louisiana like David Vitter was lecturing us about family values, but came up on the DC Madams list I would point it out. And this regular thing I did on the Young Turks every week. And now I watch Cenk as he's become more and more crazy over the years. And now I watch him saying that MAGA is not his enemy. They are his friend. It's the establishment. I mean, it really almost sounds like an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. Just find some secretive insider group and say they're your enemy and you're an outsider, like the MAGA folks. And it's really left.
It's really disappointing because, again, it goes back to the disadvantages that I don't even know what you call it, because some people say, oh, you're not progressive, you're that, this, that. The pro-democracy coalition, which includes everyone from liberals to progressives, social democrats, democratic socialists, even like whatever that broad tent is, whatever you want to call it. The Young Turks is the biggest network that we have. Yeah. And there seems to be some capitulation there. Like one of the things is so infuriating for me, just as an overall sentiment, which is, I understand. I'm a real big fan, as you know. We talked about this. I'm a huge fan of Mehdi Hassan, and Mehdi Hassan will simultaneously criticize
I've known him from back in the day because he actually we've disagreed on stuff and we've gotten arguments and whatever, and I still respect him. The thing because he when I wrote my book on McCain, and a lot of mainstream media, of course, because there was a love affair with McCain, and I was critical of him, wouldn't want to cover it. Mehdi actually was out there covering it, so I've known him for a while.
No, and because of precisely that reason, which is when he has principled objections to the Democrats, even if you disagree with them, he is consistent. So he will simultaneously criticize the Biden-Harris administration over its Israel policy and also go to the mat defending them on domestic policy and rejecting the false equivalence of the Trump administration or the Trump campaign. And so
there's also the false equivalence of the far left of some of the sadly, in the end, 30% of Muslims who voted, for Donald Trump. And I like to be very clear when I do this and point out 70% of Muslims did not. So I am not making a racist statement here.
A majority of Jews and Muslims voted for the Democrats
who didn't.
Yeah.
The 30% that did, that went up from 5%, who've now voted honestly to get the very people they claim to care about killed, because Donald Trump does not care one bit. He's going to sit in Netanyahu, go into Lebanon, go into the West Bank, do whatever you want. That did just the opposite. They were throwing out the false equivalencies too.
But that's what I'm saying.
And all of that. So,
I was just going to say. So,
I'm agreeing with you that Mehdi didn't do that. Yes.
Yeah, Mehdi has walked a tightrope, a lonely tightrope, along with like Wajah Ali and others, who are willing to earn the ire of people who otherwise agree with them, people who identify with them, by saying, hey, listen, even if this is your single issue, the evidence shows that Trump is going to be worse on this, so don't create a false equivalence. But my point is, like, I really don't take issue with people criticizing the Democrats, even if I disagree with the criticism. I just reject the false equivalence. And so when I hear, Cenk and Anna and others suggest that the Republicans and the Democrats are basically the same when it comes to labor, whitewash. I mean, Trump was disastrous on labor in term 1, not just his rhetoric, but union busters he appointed to key positions.
God, yeah.
Elon Musk is one of the most prolific union busters, anti-union figures, whereas the Biden administration saved the Teamsters pensions The NLRB under President Biden has been vigorously pro-worker.
And the infrastructure bill created so many jobs for workers. I mean, my God.
Yes.
That was like and the CHIPS bill for that matter, that brought manufacturing. Columbus, Ohio, 2 hours from here, a big Intel plant put in there. That was the CHIPS bill.
Yes. And so I'm sorry, on policy, not just in terms of aspiration, but actual results, the Democratic Party on its worst fucking day is objectively superior for workers and on labor than the Trump administration on its best day. And anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar or a moron. Or
right. And you know what you're getting
both.
at? Yeah, I'll put up what Jim Williams, one of our moderators, has to say. I think that's about right. You know what, and you know the point you're getting to, and I think to me this is the larger overall point. And I always say this. This is when I call out people on the left too, when they attack you for disagreeing on something, right? Like, I mean, yeah, we do have some disagreements on some things. That's actually healthy. We believe in democracy. We should be able to work those out. And I mean, if they're massive, I mean, that's a problem, right? But various disagreements on policy of various shades, absolutely. The big difference to me is, and this is when I get angry at folks, is when people on our side don't sit there and say, who is it that's saying this? Is it somebody that generally has always acted in good faith? And I think they're wrong on this. So if they've acted in good faith before, and this is the way I always treat everybody else on the left, where I may think they're arguing something that is absolutely wrong. But if I know they've been there and they're, and arguing in good faith, then I say, okay, this is a good faith disagreement. What I cannot stand are the people that are there in bad faith and are positioning themselves, for whether it's for fame, money, whatever the hell it is. That is what Cenk and Anna are doing. It is no longer, I could take them in good faith 5, 7, however many years ago when they started moving in a certain direction based upon who they were when I used to go on their show. But they have now shown enough times for enough years that they do not show up in good faith. It is about positioning the channel. It's all about making sure that they maintain the largest numbers and they do this and that and the other thing. We all want to grow our channels. We all want to do whatever. Democracy comes first. I'll throw my channel in the garbage if that were what I had to do to get rid of Trump and have it be a democracy here. That's, and the people who care clearly much more about their numbers, about the money that comes in, about whatever their other gigs they get. Those are the people that I have no respect for.
Yeah.
So always ask yourself, if somebody says something, are they coming in good faith? And that, I'll let you jump in. I'll just say that's never Trumpers too, because some of them really have changed. They were wrong. Some of these people I used to debate on Fox and MSNBC. I used to argue with them, and they are friends of mine. They have changed. And if you believe in the book, what is it? Damn it, how's it not coming to me now? But the book about saving democracy by Zyblatt and Levinsky. How democracies die. Then you believe in what Jessiah said earlier, which is to defeat an authoritarian movement of the far right or the far left, you need everybody who's willing to be on your side in good faith.
100%.
So, go ahead.
100%. So we have to create a permission structure for a broad coalition that can also earnestly disagree. So to me, it's, and I want to be clear. I'm not saying this is easy. Like one of the frustrating things. Let me just unpack this here for a second. So I only met Cenk Uygur once. It was at the DNC. He was very gracious. He actually sat down, let me interview him. He was, I always liked Cenk because he came from a position of earnestness from what I saw. This about face on Trump has really just left me flabbergasted. Number one. Number two, we have to create a coalition in which we can, for purposes of procuring political power, get along with the widest number of people that we possibly can. Okay. Obviously, there are limits. If there weren't limits, we wouldn't have political opponents because they would be allies. There clearly must be red lines. And I understand that we're not going to 100% agree on that, but we should all, from moderates to progressives and everybody in between, be mindful about what we're willing to compromise. Sometimes progressives are not going to get what they want. Sometimes moderates are going to have to give more to progressives than the more moderate approach. I totally understand that. And it's easier said than done, but that should be the guiding calculus. For me, it is. I might disagree with I imagine I disagree more with moderates than progressives overall on certain policy things. Like I probably want to go further than somebody like Jared Moskowitz or a Jared Golden or somebody like that.
Yeah.
But they are a part of the team as far as I'm concerned, because
as long as they are to me, when you've left the team from either side, when you're Rashida Tlaib or Nina Turner and you refuse to endorse Joe Biden, you're no longer on my team on one side. And when you're Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and you're trying to hurt from the other side, and that's what I always say, that's how I can prove like I'm not pushing for one side or the other, kind of like what you said. I am pushing for that vast middle from the, over where if you're for Biden, if you are for democracy, we're going to disagree on some issues. It's inevitable. Like I'm pissed about what happened, for example, yesterday. And this is a classic example. AOC is to the left of me. I disagree with AOC on at least a half dozen things. Okay. But she is a force in our party. She is a strong voice. She is so much better at messaging. She is so much better at controlling the narrative. To choose Jerry Connolly over her is just
a
so
colossal
stupid.
Mistake. Yes.
Yes.
And that's official now. They had that preliminary vote. It's official. Yeah. And that's so devastating.
Dumb. And that's just the proof in the pudding.
And you and I don't hate Connolly, just to be clear. We don't hate Connolly.
I actually almost managed his campaign in a weird, when I lived on the East Coast years ago, his first House campaign, I was interviewed. He didn't choose me. He's me and like two other people. But like I went and met with him, and it was, so to be clear, I agree with Connolly. I'm looking for the most effective messengers, and I don't have to agree with them 100%. I have to know that we're part of that broad coalition, and they're going to kick ass for us.
And AOC
I know AOC
is proven. Will. She to me is a great example, because you want to talk about a woman who was reviled by not just people on the right, but often by the center and pilloried.
Yep.
She has proven herself to be a brilliant student of politics.
Yes.
Let's think about this, because
charisma too.
Charisma, energy, competence. She has learned at the feet of Jamie Raskin. She was his vice-ranking member on the Oversight Committee, the most important of the committees. It wasn't Connolly. It was AOC. AOC has an encyclopedic knowledge of the rules from Jamie Raskin. So people say, sure, MAGA has Marjorie Taylor Greene. Well, you guys have AOC. And I'm like, don't ever fucking compare.
I know.
Don't
the only thing that you can compare about the two of them is they both talk a lot. One of them talks and says things that make sense, uses multisyllabic words, and actually has an education on our history and cares about people. The other one is
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
The other one is named Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
And she comes out of that map. If you look at that map of evolution going forward, except for it's backwards, you turn it around, so it's devolution
in real time.
Heading back to being in trees, and that's Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No, 100%. And so like, it's so like when people say, she's the equivalent of the crazies, I'm like, no, it's bullshit. She's smarter than they are. She acts in good faith, unlike them. And by the way, here's the other thing. She's never said any of the unhinged shit about Republicans that Marjorie Taylor Greene has publicly said about you and me, Democrats. Marjorie Taylor Greene has said that the Democratic Party is an evil party, a party of groomers and pedophiles.
Sick, psychopaths.
Yes. AOC hasn't said shit like that ever about the GOP.
They earned it, because when they went after her, some of the things they said about her, I would have understood. I think people, generalize too much even there, and I think there's a danger always with us, is that we generalize too much on everything, right? All Democrats are this or all, but even more so, even all of the so-called squad were not the same. There were a couple members in there, and again, I do have problems with Rashida Tlaib. I have problems with her both as someone who wouldn't endorse Biden, and I do believe she said a number of anti-Semitic things that I'm not going to forgive her for. But I don't believe AOC is anything like that.
Well, Ilhan Omar and AOC both endorsed President Biden.
That's right.
They
Same
stood
with
by
Omar.
President Biden.
I support her too.
They supported Vice President Harris, and that's the thing, because they recognize power is better than endlessly critiquing power. There are some people out there who just want to bitch, and they don't actually want the responsibility and the stress associated.
It's much
with
easier
taking
to
power.
Complain. It's also much easier to get fans. It's much easier to make money off of a Substack or a YouTube or whatever it is that you choose to do. That's the easy way, is to not offer any solutions and just say, tell everybody everything sucks.
And these are two badass women, as an example, that I imagine a lot of people disagree with in terms of specific policies. But damn it, they have learned. They are quick studies. They have an AOC in particular. Like, yeah, when I saw that Pelosi was whipping, and I have enormous respect for Pelosi as a speaker, that she's certainly in modern history the most successful United States speaker, perhaps in the history of this country.
Oh, in terms of legislatively, she'd be on the Mount Rushmore.
100%. But I was so disappointed when it was reported that she was whipping votes for Connolly. Connolly, again, he's smart, he's experienced, but he's just not the guy.
That's what she's done too many times, and that's why, I don't mean to interrupt, but again, that's why I feel strongly that I just think Nancy Pelosi needs to move on. I think there are a number of people. I mean, again, come on, right? I mean, we're at the point where people like me, and I'm a mid-level, like I'm not even an early Gen Xer. I'm a middle Xer. So people in the middle of Generation X are hitting 50. I mean, come on, like when the boomers are still hanging on at that point, it is time. Hakeem Jeffries, I think, is in his mid-50s. He's older than I am, but he is perfect. He is well-spoken. He kicks butt. I think he was a great choice for that role. But it's like he's got Pelosi looking over his shoulder. She needs, like, if he's truly gonna be our leader, she has to leave. And as much
this might have been a great opportunity, to your point, this might have been a great opportunity for him to cut that cord and say, Nancy, you obviously can vote however you want, but damn it, I'm betting on AOC. And
I wish he had spoken out publicly about it, because again, that group, Jasmine Crockett,
Dan Goldman,
Stacey
Maxwell
Plaskett,
Frost,
Dan Goldman, right? Maxwell Frost, like Eric Swalwell, Ted Lieu. They range anywhere. Even
Ted Lieu is brutal, man.
He's great.
He's like an assassin.
I had him on my old podcast. He's so smart. Oh my God, he's so smart.
So he's not a household name, but where Ted Lieu always cracked me up is he was the guy in Congress hitting the hardest the Trump Epstein connections, besides Jared Moskowitz holding up that poster image of Trump and Epstein, side by side. Ted Lieu was brutal about that. Every time a new headline would come out about Jeffrey Epstein, Ted Lieu would point out, I'm just wanting to remind the media who is assembled here that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein have been photographed together multiple times. No, right. But and also go to the Senate here real quick, because you said this earlier, and I did want to touch on this. Dick Durbin, if he's the ranking member of Judiciary and it's not Sheldon Whitehouse, it should be Sheldon Whitehouse.
If he had been Whitehouse, we would have seen Clarence Thomas yanked in there, Brett Kavanaugh, what happened to the FBI investigation. Instead, Durbin, and he's kept that ridiculous. I mean, the other side tried to overthrow democracy. But I'm going to keep, what is it, the blue slip policy? I mean, are you kidding me?
So your audience, just a real quick for your audience, the blue slip thing, folks, this is the biggest fucking deal that nobody talks about.
It is a stupid.
So there is a long-standing tradition in which United States senators can effectively veto a presidential nominee to their state. So you have a judicial vacant. Let's say Cliff and I. So you have President Schechter here, and you have Senator Jessiah.
You don't want
President
that.
Schechter, no, you do. Schechter 2028. No. So President Schechter makes a nomination to fill a judicial vacancy in my state, in Senator Jessiah's state. I can go back and say, Mr. President, I don't like this candidate. Please, I'm withholding my blue slip. Please pick a different candidate. And per Senate tradition, that was observed. If you didn't get the nod from that state senator, even if it was from the opposite party, like if you didn't get that permission, you picked a different candidate. That was the gentleman's agreement for years. Trump gets into office in 2017. Republicans have the Senate. They shred the blue slip rule for circuit judges. And what that meant was that anytime Trump had a nominee for a circuit judge and a Democrat objected to it, they gave the Democrats the finger and just rammed it through.
We had no right to the blue slip policy anymore.
Right. So then 2020 happens. President Biden wins. Democrats flip the Senate. In 2021, we keep that tradition. We say, okay, well, you all shredded the blue slip for circuit courts. We're not going to reimpose it. Republicans were furious. Marsha Blackburn was, how dare you? I didn't get the appropriate consultation. And Sheldon Whitehouse had to say, you broke this fucking rule and you want us to restore it? You're out of your mind. And Dick Durbin did good there. But here's the follow-up. He was pressured. People begged him. Okay, they slapped first. They hit you first by shredding the blue slip rule for circuit judges. They are going to try to block Biden's nominees for district judges. And we'll come back to how this is a huge deal. This is a really big deal, folks, with tangible results for the American people. What Durbin could have done was say, okay, Republicans, you shredded the blue slip rule for circuit judges unprovoked. I'm going to shred the blue slip rule for district judges, which is my right. You see how you like it. And that would have let Biden cram every judicial vacancy at the district level with his nominees. Durbin didn't do it. He wanted to preserve the norm. We
always wait until even with the minute.
Can I just say this real quick? I'm sorry, real quick. Here's the punchline. Here's the punchline. Here's a direct, because some of you are probably thinking, okay, well, that sounds pretty limp, dict of Dick Durbin here, but how does that manifest tangibly? Well, here's a great example. The reason that Aileen Cannon got the Trump classified documents case in Florida was because that case was randomly assigned. And there were multiple district vacancies in Florida. So to be very clear about this, if Dick Durbin had shredded the blue slip rule, which he had every right to do, and President Biden filled those nominees over the objections of Rick Scott and Marco Rubio, there would have been more judges in the lottery pool. So when that classified documents case was assigned, it probably would have gone to somebody else.
Right.
You can draw a straight line to Trump walking away scot-free to this.
How many times that happens because people in the Democratic Party observe outdated norms that have been destroyed by Republicans, some of which never should have existed to begin with. The filibuster not being in the Constitution and being an accident of history. And when McConnell started abusing it, we immediately should have said it's not in the Constitution. Presiding officer in the Senate at that time, it had been Al Gore way back when, or whoever the vice president was a Democrat. We're getting rid of it, which they could do. But we never use the power at our disposal, and we always pay the price. You always end up seeing something like what you just said with Aileen Cannon, where down the line, because we didn't do something we could have done because we were being proper and right, we end up getting screwed. Or if you want to look at it more properly, democracy gets screwed.
Yeah, you all got screwed because you weren't given a fucking answer. In that classified documents case, ultimately, you can draw the line directly back to Dick Durbin saying, no, we're going to preserve norms. And here's the clicker. Here's the kicker, Cliff, which is what we're told is, well, because Democrats didn't do it, that's just going to incentivize Republicans not to do it either, Cliff, because we could have done it and we chose not to. So they will be inspired.
The way Republicans act. Yes, absolutely.
What do you think of that? Like, I know you hear that excuse. Can you please I
say the same thing every time. If we get rid of the filibuster, well, then they're going to get rid of it anyhow. My response every time is the only reason the Republicans hadn't gotten rid of the filibuster is they didn't need to. They got rid of it for judges. We were forced finally under Harry Reid, who was one of the first people that actually did take a step ahead of Republicans and said, all judges but the Supreme Court. The minute Republicans needed it for the Supreme Court, Gorsuch, they got rid of it. So and as you know, all they care about are taxes, regulations, and judges.
And taxes they can solve
reconciliation. Are under reconciliation. Yeah. So that's the reason why they didn't get rid of it, because they don't need to get rid of it. But anybody ever says, well, we won't do this because then Republicans will. That argument seriously makes me want to punch something.
It's
Everything
so insane.
That's terrible, Republicans will always do. If you can just remind yourself of that and say, if we do it now, we will beat them out. And when Harry Reid did that and blew that up, and we got all these judges on the court, we're still benefiting from what Harry Reid did.
You miss
Harry Reid. And there were Democrats criticizing him for years for that. Well, he struck first because they were filibustering all our judges.
Right. That's actually, I'm sorry. That's what I would say. No, Harry Reid didn't strike first because Harry Reid
righted the system.
Harry Reid tried to get McConnell to stop blocking President Obama's nominees. It wasn't like the first time McConnell did it. Harry Reid's like, no, fuck you, and just shredded the rules. Harry Reid wasn't like that. He begged McConnell, please stop blocking to an unprecedented degree these nominees. Half of all filibusters by the time President Obama left office in January 2017. So from 1789 until 2017, literally 50% of all filibusters and executive blocks, as in blocking of executive nominees, occurred in 2 terms under Obama by Republicans.
And that's now add in under McConnell since then, a vast majority have been under him. We let them bring these fake issues, these ridiculous things that do not exist in the Constitution. It angers me. Another one, of course, is the debt ceiling. And again, the debt ceiling does not exist. We are required by our Constitution and law. Yeah, we are required by law and our Constitution to pay off debt that we've already incurred, which is what the debt ceiling is. People said to Barack Obama, just ignore it. It doesn't exist. It's an accident of history. It's stupid. We pay you. Just ignore them. He wouldn't. And again, I love Obama, but I'm just saying we did too much of this.
And President Biden
mint
did
a $1 trillion coin,
right?
Which you can do. I know Biden did it too. Print $1 million, mint a $1 trillion coin. Use that. No, I won't. Like those are the precedents. And then you look at what the Republicans do in literally. I'm pretty sure. I know what state you're in. I know what state you're from, but I assume you're sitting there right now.
North Carolina.
He is sitting in right now in North Carolina. What happens when we elect a Democratic governor and attorney general?
They take power from the governor and the attorney general.
Right. They pass a series of bills to strip power from them, break all precedent on it, because that is how Republicans use power versus they'll literally do things that are questionably legally and often are quite illegal to take power in North Carolina. We have something here in the debt ceiling, the filibuster, all these things that do not exist, should not exist. We've allowed them to exist through our weakness, and we never just say,
and
you're not holding the economy hostage.
Oh, it's killing me. So like you brought up so many good points. So the debt ceiling thing, President Biden should have called the Republicans bluff. You all racked up this debt under Donald Trump, $8 trillion in a 4-year term. That motherfucker promised that not only would he not add 1 red cent to the debt, he would actually wipe out all the debt he'd inherited from his predecessors. Instead, he gives us the single greatest contribution to the national debt in a 4-year spread. And you want to leverage the debt you racked up in a way which will hurt the American people and hold me hostage? No. What Biden should have done is said that at the end of the day, I'm going to order the Treasury Department to continue to issue notes. And if you want to take me to court and try to stop me, that's cool. Hey, Supreme Court, I dare you. I dare you to order me to default on the debt. I dare you. And here's the thing. I'm the sort of person like
if Jessiah and I were running things, we'd know what the weak points were, what the Constitution says, what the law is, and B, we would actually act and be like,
Well, Cliff, to your point, I mean, like, I want to be clear. I don't bet on the Supreme Court to do a lot of things. Like, I think they're pretty far in the right for Donald Trump. Like, I think betting the Supreme Court to do the right thing is generally a losing proposition. However, when it comes to bankrupting the entire, triggering a domestic and international economic crisis, which would affect them, Clarence Thomas getting all that.
I was going to say, that you said the key words there when it affects them. You could always, it used to be the saying was, a man, I will be better about this as we are our modern world. You can always count on a person acting in their own self-interest.
Right.
As long as it's in there, that is how Biden got McConnell, as I've said to people, to sign up. And you may know this too, on the infrastructure bill, because no one was paying for the Brent Bridge between here and Northern Kentucky that's falling in the damn water. So people, and he had an interest in that infrastructure bill, as did certain Republicans.
And McConnell showed up.
He did.
President Biden and McConnell showed up in person.
Yep.
Yes. No, it's a great point. And that's one of the few times where I would bet everything that the Supreme Court in that debt ceiling crisis, it would have been a 9-0 decision. No, you can't make the president default on the national debt, which would trigger a domestic and international economic crisis. That, to me, I totally take your point. You brought up so many good examples there. But that's
you too, man. It's fun talking about all this stuff because, again, how old are you?
33.
Okay. You look young enough. I thought you might even be 20 or 29. I'm like, that's a crime.
Stop it.
What the hell?
Cliff there. Hey, like and subscribe to Cliff if you haven't yet. We need to get him to 200,000. More, Cliff, more.
I'm just saying, dude, when I was your age, I was wasting a whole lot of time on things that are bad for my brain cells, like alcohol and, this and that. So, you just, like the folks like you are one of the few things that give me hope, is that you're out there kicking butt and you're growing your damn channel. 450 or what? I think you said 450,000, and
I'm at 430. Excuse me, 430.
I think we're still going to take that as a success. 430,000, and that this stuff cold, because the key is to all of this is being. I remember 33. There you go, from Jim Williams. Hey, 33 is 19 years ago for me too, pal. So in any case, the key is two things with this. It seems to me, you got to know your stuff, but you also need to be able to entertain. Now, you may just have to be able to entertain on YouTube, but if you don't know your stuff, then that's great that you're entertaining people, but you're not really helping things out. So you're entertaining them and you're getting them to watch you, but you're also teaching people all this while you're doing it. And that is what is essential, my friend, because not enough folks are out there doing that. And people need to know all of this, and we need to repeat it again and again, whether it's the debt ceiling or the filibuster, or, there even are things right now where I was seeing initially, Durbin wasn't moving quickly on judges. And I think a lot of us started screaming and they started moving on them, right?
Yeah.
And as well as executive appointees. We got screwed by Cinema, and Manchin on the NLRB. And there's nothing we can do about that. They are the treasonous folks they are. But every single person who we can put in a position who will be there longer, embedded in the bureaucracy while Trump is in office, get them in there. I mean, this is look at all of this stuff, the bureaucracy, judiciary, parts of the media, whatever. This is our immune system. The more you can bolster our immune system to fascism before that virus hits us on January 20th, the better shape we're going to be in. That means every one of these folks, every one of these things you could do. I've argued too, and you can disagree with me on this also, but let's go to another thing besides the debt ceiling, besides the filibuster. There is nothing in the Constitution that says an amendment must be ratified in a certain number of years. Nothing. That little fake Republican vote to say, well, the ERA has taken too many years. No, it is not valid.
There's no expiration
Joe
date.
Biden right now, can you imagine how that would give people on our side energy if Joe Biden would get up right now let Kamala Harris even do it, stand up next to him and demand that the congressional archivist put that out, that's what you have to do, is write it up, put the amendment out, and then it gets entered into the Constitution. We just entered the ERA into the Constitution. If they would do that, I mean,
no, 100%. Listen. I wish we lived in a West Wing style universe where things could be litigated in good faith, and we had Martin Sheen and we had Alan Alda as the reasonable Republican sit down.
Remember him? The pro-choice, Republican who believed in climate change.
Right. That's how you know that's how you know it's fiction. But we don't live in that world. And so I think, there will be disagreements on specific policy outcomes. But one of the things that I'm more encouraged by is seeing. So I don't know if you're familiar with liberal streamer Destiny, but he's someone I interact with quite a bit too.
Destiny, I've seen the name. I don't know Destiny personally.
Well, you should check him out, because I imagine you two would agree on a lot of things, and he's a shit stirrer and a shit talker. So I think you'd get along with that in that
respect. We get along great. I'm going to make you introduce me to everybody, just so you know.
What's interesting is he's kind of been a litmus test for me, because when I first met him, he was very much such a pro-institutionalist that I'm paraphrasing here, but he was of the mindset that, as frustrating as Trump and Republicans were, Democrats, for the sake of our institutions, should just take it on the chin and just hope like hell that, basically we shouldn't do anything about the institutions because somebody has to be the adults in the room. He has since been radicalized, and I think in the best possible way. Where he's so fed up, certain degree. He's so fed up with the bullshit double standards that he's on the proverbial warpath. And he's like, if these institutions won't curtail MAGA extremism and right-wing authoritarianism, then you change or you fucking break and replace the institutions if need be.
That's where I am.
You play ruthlessly.
Again, when we're starting to become the conservatives, there's something wrong. We're like, let's protect institutions. Yeah, I'm a big believer in protecting institutions that work. But when we become like conservatives who protect institutions that don't work, that sit there and always are the ones arguing for tradition as opposed to moving forward on things, that's the opposite of being progressive. Again, there are institutions that work very well for our democracy, and we should strengthen those. So many of them are failing, and the mainstream media, corporate media, legacy media, call it what you will, it's an absolute failure. That's why I said let it die.
The electoral college, the filibuster
is terrible. The filibuster, you're right. And the electoral college is obviously tougher because that is in the Constitution. I want it to go away, but that again, there's the interstate compact, which we should find a better name. Again, Democrats are so bad at naming stuff too. I mean, come on, mark it, folks. But
were you pleased? I'll say this before as we wind down, but were you pleased? I was really happy about this, that President Biden had the wherewithal to say during a recent speech, I think it was it Bloomberg or was it the Brookings Institute? I'm sorry. He said, one of the things I learned from Trump, put your damn name on the checks. I don't know if you saw that from President Biden, but he said that. He's yep. He said it. He said on microphone, on camera, he was like, we did this, 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 and this. And he's like, and then he said, and by the way, something I learned from Donald Trump, I didn't put my name on the checks. He did. Stupid.
It's exactly right. It's sort of like they should have been very clear. And my God, we all witnessed this with Obama when he passed the stimulus, and then Republicans ran back to their districts and took credit and whatever. We should have made very clear in any bill, especially if Republicans weren't going to vote for it anyhow. No, you don't get to name anything after yourself. No, you don't. You don't get to present a check. No, if you don't vote for it, you are legally excluded from the process of going and bringing that check to that locality that gets it. That is going to be you could have passed something, the nearest representative or senator who voted for it, or it could be the president or whatever. But no, I mean, I cannot stand when they do that. They vote against it and they take credit for it. Again, these are the little marketing things that we have to get so much better at. And part of that is just willing to be aggressive and willing to be ruthless. I'm sorry, but it's not even being ruthless with all the stuff they've done to us. Sorry, you don't get to put your name on a fucking check that you had nothing to do with. All right, you don't.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. And Cliff, Trump is gonna fucking take credit for everything over the next 4 years. All those prescription drug prices that Biden lowered, Trump's gonna say he did it. All those roads and bridges. He already has
claimed he passed that once. That veterans bill, benefits bill, he passed all the time. I mean, you're right. He'll take credit for all the good stuff, and then everything that's bad will be Biden and Kamala Harris's fault.
And we have to be relentless about this. Anytime a Democrat is on camera and they're talking about under the next Trump administration, they need to say, and by the way, whoever they're talking to, I just want to clarify, Donald Trump didn't have any damn thing to do with this road or this bridge. That was done because of President Biden's infrastructure bill. After 4 years of Trump promising to get it done, Biden got it done in less than 1 year. These bridges and roads are being built now, but it's not because of Donald Trump. Yeah,
it was every week. It's infrastructure week. I mean, it became a freaking joke. I mean, is it infrastructure week again? I mean, I remember doing that all the time. Biden came in, didn't talk about it, just said, we're going to do it once or twice. And he went ahead and did it and got McConnell to support it and got a coalition of, I think, 15 to 20 Republicans to vote for it. Right. I mean, in this atmosphere, when one party is, again, to quote you, an authoritarian cult, exactly right. Joe Biden found a way to win over that many Republicans. Again, on foreign policy, for the most part, there are some exceptions, but on foreign policy, for the most part, I think Biden, I'd give him probably at least a B+, something like that. On domestic policy, I'd give him, and legislating, I'd give him an A+. What he did was more progressive. He passed more legislation. It's in fighting back against Republicans, where early on, I would have given him a higher grade. In the last couple of months, I've been very disappointed. I say this as somebody who wrote ads for the man in 2020. I'm still a big fan. I still think he will be a top 10 president definitively, but overall did an amazing job. I just wish he could get outside of like the age that he was in the Senate in and others, and they would just start hitting back in a more forceful way, the way younger Democrats are. Because again, if that ERA thing, if they did that with the ERA, if he did a number of these other things we're talking about and left office on that note, my God, his legacy.
Yeah, and make them try to legally challenge it. Like if Republicans, even though constitutional amendments are non-justiciable, that's one of the checks against this court, which, by the way, Sometime we're going to have a separate conversation, because I think there are two threats in front of us. The immediate proximate threat is Donald Trump and MAGA. The long-term threat is the United States Supreme Court. I'm sorry. This notion of checks and balances, it's supposed to go both ways, but we have effectively created a system where one branch, the smallest, unelected, unaccountable branch, is giving orders to the other two branches. That doesn't work for me. As much as I want the Supreme Court to be a check on Donald Trump for the next 4 years, I'm actually categorically uncomfortable in general with 9 unelected philosopher kings being able to give orders to the elected branches and not in turn be checked. That doesn't cut it for me.
I like to get people, I thought it was alliterative and fun. I was trying to popularize the phrase of Republicans in robes. We would just refer to them constantly that way. Oh, you mean the 9 Republicans in robes? I mean, that's, actually the 6. That's what they are. They're not, Brett Kavanaugh, John Roberts, what's her name?
Amy Coney Barrett.
They worked on Bush's campaign. They were consultants. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, most of them, Gorsuch's mom was the head of the EPA under Reagan. Like, these are people, these are not judges. These are, and Alito is an Opus Dei. Talk about DEI hires. How about Opus DEI hire? That's what he is.
And bro, the temerity they have to throw shade at Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Oh my God.
Who is more qualified
than all of them put together.
100%.
And here's the deal. If we don't do this, because we might as well continue with this theme that we've been talking about this show, which is things that don't exist in the Constitution, like, let's say, 9 judges on the Supreme Court. I like to bring this up often. 1867, the last time that we added a judge to the Supreme Court. All right. And we grew the size of the court. Yeah. The population in the United States of America at that time was 30 million. We are now 340, 350. We have grown by 11 to 12 times since then. So even on just a nonpartisan basic functioning of that court, they take so few cases now, less than 1%, because there aren't enough of them. Like 13 should be the very least. There really
number
should
of
be
circuits.
more like 17 or 21.
Yeah, for at least
something.
the number of circuits. No, I totally agree. And by the way, again, let's be clear. The Supreme Court did change its composition and size multiple times throughout U.S. history. Even, I love this. You don't want the size of the court. You don't want to pack the court, because that would be like using the court as a political football. The founding fathers did that. President Adams and President Jefferson changed the size of the court to screw the other over. When Jefferson defeated Adams upon re-election, Adams shrank the size of the court to try to prevent Jefferson from filling the vacancies.
Because he wanted the Federalists to have. Yeah, I mean, we should have very simply, again, we shouldn't even, and again, we're just having a conversation here. I'm not, but we should have never call it, at least when we're making the argument, packing. It was rebalancing the court, adding justice to the court. I like that one. Come up with the best way to say it. But again, even if we get to 13, now, partisan-wise, that might help, but it's really not going to be enough to handle all of the cases. They really should look to almost double it. I think 17 would be a solid number.
And ethics requirements out the ass. I'm sorry.
Exactly. And I'm so sorry. Another area where Biden did not fight enough. They should have come in, looked at what that Supreme Court did, that there was no way they could stop him on this. It is not, I mean, there's always a way they can cheat and lie and steal like they do, but it's not in the Constitution. And I think right away, they should have said, this court has been illegally taken from us. The Senate did not even perform their duty of advise and consent when Barack Obama was president for 10 months, by the way, 11 months, when he should have had that right to put a justice there. They forced one on during voting at the last second. It is a kangaroo court. It is ridiculous. And we are going to right now. And then again, let's bring back that argument. But Republicans will then do it. They'll do it anyhow. I promise you, anytime in the future, if we have a majority. So if this young man here, and I can say that because I'm 52, Jessiah wants to, anytime during his life, live under a Supreme Court that is controlled by Democrats, liberals, whatever you want to say, we are going to have to do that because they will cheat every time. I promise you, if we end up getting a majority, then they'll add 2 seats, 3 seats, whatever, the next time they take over. That's what you're looking at here. That's the Republican Party.
Their shamelessness is their superpower. Yeah. Cliff, man, I could keep riffing with you for another 4 hours.
No, I feel bad just because, you promised me 30 minutes and I think I got 2 hours, hour and 45 minutes. I don't even think I can. I'm going to have to figure it out. I'll put some of this out as a video because I can't even rebroadcast the whole thing. They only allow you to rebroadcast 2 hours.
Oh shit. well, listen.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
We'll figure it out.
Use it to your best possible content. I appreciate it. All of our conversations behind the scenes and in public are all amazing. I really like the work that you're doing. I appreciate you not only collaborating with other content creators and trying to connect them, but also really bringing the fire that you don't want Democrats to just be pushovers, that even if you disagree with like an AOC on policy, you admire the fire she brings. And so you're willing to elevate her. That's what we need.
Part.
That's team player energy. So I really appreciate that.
I'm there for it. That's the most important part, man. I get her back anytime. And again,
she had yours.
That's right. That's right. So I disagree with her on a couple of things. I agree with her on a hell of a lot more than I disagree with her on. And if there's somebody who I agree with every single thing on, but is going to be a weaker leader, I will support her 100 of 100 times because that is what we need. So
perfect. Well, man,
you are an awesome man. You seriously, again, don't mean to sort of in any way have it sound condescending. There is Jessiah up here on Pondering Politics. Go get him up to 500,000, a million, because the man, as you can tell, he's got the skills, he's got the knowledge, he's good at this. We need his voice out there. You're fantastic for joining me. I'll be in touch about more because I'd love to do this more. I think these are good conversations to have.
Yeah, so. Likewise. One of the things that we talked about this before, and I haven't done any in a while. Last thing I'll say, we need to be on some debate panels together. You and I screaming at some.
Let's get to. I know I haven't either. I want. Yeah. I've openly said, please, any of you out there, if you have the guts, Ben Shapiro, supposed smart man of the right. Pick one other of your stooges over there. I don't even care if they're being paid by Russia. Bring Benny Johnson along if you'd like. And I'm pretty confident that me and Jessiah will, by the time we're done with them, we'll have shredded them,
destroyed them with facts and logic.
That's right, and some entertainment and mocking. I would add
a lot of it.
All right, buddy.
Cliff, I appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. Bye.
Thank you. Wow, guys, that was a ton of fun, and I didn't think it was going to go that long. And so we're going to have to cut some of this off. This is by far the longest. I think we went an hour and 50-something minutes. Wow. You guys are fantastic for hanging here for all of this. You're awesome. I think I read out all of the super stickers, super chats. Didn't really get a chance to hit you all up and get you to support the effort because Jessiah was here. But I'll say one last time before I leave, if you guys, anyone can be supportive with a super chat, super sticker, join Patreon, joining the YouTube members club. Again, these are the things I'm trying to build up, the sort of revenue streams that allow me to do this. And I'll only add to what I do, the more folks are willing to do it. So somebody have one for me? Come on. Do I have to do my Jerry Maguire? You got one for me? Come on. Who's it going to be? Who's going to be? Who's walking out here with me? It's going to be the goldfish. Come on, guys. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Am I going to fail? Am I going to fail? Are you going to embarrass me in front of the world? Who's it going to be? Come on, one person. One. Somebody's got to leave with me. I need someone to leave. All right. Hey, you guys are awesome. Seriously, thank you for everything. And we will be here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. And it's later, and Trump wants to get rid of daylight savings time or whatever. But I still think even under those circumstances, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell. And a goodbye. Ooh, I'm still here. I should probably end the stream. Adios.